For an environmentalist who advocates limiting the carbon footprint out there, David Suzuki sure knows how to live well. The activist actually owns 4 homes, including a property he co-owns with a fossil fuel company. Jessica Hume has more from Ottawa. Good morning, Jessica.
Good morning, Pat. This is an interesting story. It's a story at all because David Suzuki is someone who loves to preach about protecting the environment. He preaches against consumerism, very much a message that we should be living with less, that less can be more. But it looks like David Suzuki might be more of a do as I say, not as I do type. And that's because we know now that he has 4 quite lavish homes. I'm not talking about, small, modest properties. It looks, based on various records, title registries and the like, that the primary home of Mr. David Suzuki is quite a sprawling mansion in the Kitsilano area of Vancouver. This is a property that's worth approximately $8.2 million. And strangely, it is conceivable that he could have traveled from that home to the site of Occupy Vancouver, where he made an appearance at their protest, where again, he was really extolling the virtues of an anti-corporate agenda. But this is not the only home. As I mentioned, this is only one of 4. Now, there's a slightly more modest apartment, perhaps it's a single dwelling. It looks like it might be a rental. We're not exactly sure. Again, slightly more modest than what you're looking at right now, but his second property is valued at about $1.01 million, so much more modest than that primary home. Now, who could live without a weekend getaway? There's no lavish lifestyle that doesn't include a weekend getaway, of course, with a dock to boot. So this, of course, is the Waterfront property. This is an area or a property in the Quadra Island area, beautiful, very pristine part of British Columbia. Again, I mentioned it has a dock. It looks very much like, where you'd go on a nice long weekend to the cottage kind of thing. Again, that one, $1.1 million. So we can see already it is starting to add up. But as you mentioned in your intro, perhaps most interesting in all of these properties is a shared property, likely a condominium, on Nelson Island. And this is one property of which Suzuki is one of 9 co-owners. It's not all individuals, though. There seem to be a few companies listed as co-owners on this Nelson Island property. And most fascinating, one of the other co-owners is Kootenay Oil Distributors. Now, I don't know a lot about them because they don't have a website. I think that's a whole other point of curiosity. But, this is a man who's just 2 days ago announced as part of his carbon manifesto that he wants to see, a complete halt of all activity on the oil sands, basically immediately, tax slapped right on carbon right away. And he also wants to see us move to all renewable energies within 1 generation. So I think it's safe to say that for a man who's interested in, abandoning the carbon industry entirely, basically 5 minutes ago, that he certainly has some pretty expensive tastes for an environmentalist.
Yeah, I'm going to take a guess, Jessica, that Kootenay probably doesn't build, sustainable resources like bamboo trees or something like that.
I don't think this is a house made of bamboo. I couldn't tell that much of the details from the Google image shots, but this is a pristine island. I don't think property there would come very cheap. And yeah, I mean, anyone can draw their own conclusions, but I think it is interesting. It's striking, to say the very least, that a man like David Suzuki, who is opposed to the burning of fossil fuels, period, that he would be okay with co-owning a property on this pristine island with a company called Kootenay Oil Distributors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Jessica.
Thank you.
It does get us to our web poll, though. David Suzuki, who champions the environment and fights against development and excess, owns 4 homes with his primary residence valued at over $8 million. Should Suzuki practice what he preaches? Yes or no? Go to sunnewsnetwork.ca and cast your vote on that one.